What's up? What's up? What is up? Another Friday. You know what it is. Another opportunity for us to get together and record the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. Today's episode is going by the name of Return on Investment. And as soon as we come back from the intro, we're going to get into why that is. But you know how we do it. It's where rough, rugged, and raw tend to be used to discuss sports, business, entertainment. The whole crew is in the building today, so we are absolutely going to have an action-packed show. Stick with us. We'll be right back after the intro. But you know what it is. If you've never been a part of the experience, that is the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Make sure you fasten your seatbelt. Make sure that you get you some extra coffee. And make sure that you tune in to the sports, business, entertainment. With that, let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. In the building for another Friday. It's the whole crew coming to you first from the Central Time Zone. The one, the only, he who needs no introduction, but I shall give him one anyway. The myth, the man, the I gotta keep going. You went like this, like I need more. You know what I'm saying?
My new nickname is +1. But
the Big Flow Show in the building. What's up?
What's good, man? Missed y'all last week. Had to do a little.
Where were you at? Why? Let's tell the people why you missed us. Let them know.
We great week, man. My son's college football debut as far as being on the squad. Northwestern took on Nebraska and Ireland. 13-point dogs, came out victoriously up by 3. Had a 20-year anniversary mixed in there, so we hit a little Barcelona before me and the wife could get better acquainted. It was perfect. It was a perfect trip. Just like Trump would say, it was perfect. It was a perfect trip.
Perfect trip, man. Perfect outcome. Congratulations on being able to not only get over there and witness a game, but witness a game that absolutely included your own child, flesh and blood, the person who politely but very, very absolutely took your name and did more with it. You know what I'm saying? How you like that? He's taller than you.
He remixed it, man.
Is he taller than you yet? He's not taller than you.
Nah, and yet is over. He's not.
He's not. He's gonna be right. So you gonna win that one. You won one. You won one. But he's way better looking.
Stronger. So, I'll say this: you didn't have any drops and warm-ups.
No drops and warm-ups. There you go.
He was ready. Had they put him in, he was ready.
He was ready. And as a dad, I'm sure you had an eagle eye focused on
I might have recorded it.
You might have recorded. You should, man. That's a worthy recordable
moment. He's out there and Aviva.
What number is he wearing? He
wears number 19.
Number 19.
Crazy event. The Irish fans are fantastic. So courteous. Nebraska fans, I would say, I gotta give a shout out. Most classy fans I've ever seen in my life. Real quick, when they would see us after the game, they would say, "Go Cats." Mm-hmm. We walked down the street afterwards as the parents and the players were walking down the street afterwards, and there was a bunch of Nebraska fans at the bar. They stood up and cheered as we walked by.
Wow.
I've never seen anything. I wouldn't do it. I'm not.
That might be too nice though, right? I mean, because
they have a saying. So when my son was in kindergarten, we used to do the Nebraska chant, and part of it says, "If we should win, let us be by the code. Cheer and honor held high. If we should lose, let me stand by the road and cheer as the winners go by." And they actually do that shit. They actually did it. So I had nothing but good things to say about Nebraska fans. They were outnumbered us like 17-1. It was so red in that stadium. But it was a great experience. The Wi-Fi is 2 people probably getting fired after that game. Scott Frost for going onside kick when they're up 11 in the third quarter, and they didn't get it. We scored. We came back and won. And whoever's in charge of Wi-Fi at the stadium, because their Wi-Fi went out, so they just couldn't do any purchases, so they just made all the beer and food free Everybody just free.
Oh my gosh,
They
that
free.
was like
It was unbelievable.
that was somebody's prayer answered. Somebody
Free.
prayed that prayer
People were
that
coming
morning.
back with 8 beers and hot dogs and candy corn and shit. They were like, "What's going on?" They said the machines are dead, and they didn't want to just have everything just go to waste. They just freed it. That dude was looking for a job on Scott Frost's new staff. Hey, man.
Yeah, Scott Frost. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's another story for another day. We also have a part of the crew still in the building from the East Coast, though. We got our man, the myth, the legend. I can't say the same thing. He is none other than ETP Ellis, the producer. What's up, good brother?
Happy Friday, my brothers. Good to be here.
Great to be here. I like that. You said a lot by saying less. I like that. He shocked me with that. I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, waiting. He's like, yeah, we're done.
So, I'll say this, man, because I'm sending the link to a few people. Make sure they tune in.
When I'm looking down, I'm either trying to look something up or I'm sending the link out to people.
Sending the link
to you guys texting me about the show. So apologize in advance.
I will say this, ETP, because you mentioned Happy Friday. This is probably the last true summer Friday. After Labor Day, I mean, yes, it's sort of summer by name, but everyone's back to school, everyone's back to work, everyone's back to thinking about paying for Christmas gifts. This is our last leisurely summer Friday, so we started a little bit late, but why don't we go ahead and hop in? Because today's episode is going by the title, Return on Investment. And it happens to be in this week, right before the last summer Friday of the year. In the NFL, they did final cuts. And apologies to our guests. We thought about bringing some people on, but as summer would have it, I got distracted and we never confirmed the guest. So I will be the guest when it comes to this particular topic. NFL final day cuts, final roster cuts. Getting to the number 53. Today's episode is called Return on Investments, but I want to take a step back because back in, I won't say the year, when I was going through the final cuts, I think that the deadline was 4 p.m. and I got a call at about 3:50, 3:55 when I was in Green Bay. And that call changed my life because, of a slew of things. I unfortunately was cut. Had done very well throughout camp. Had, I think at that point, led the team in receptions. I thought I was good. But at 3:55, with only 5 minutes left to go before they could do final cuts, I got my call. And I say it changed my life because I was upset and I had to readjust my outlook on it. And then my agent tells me, literally, my agent was my biological brother. My big brother says, you got to get on a plane within 45, 50 minutes, get all your stuff, and you're going to Cleveland. But it changed my life because it changed my perspective on where sports in the whole context of my life should be. And not having any power whatsoever, not having any job security whatsoever, it was the first time my eyes were open. Fast forward, I go through a year in Cleveland, and then I'm in my second camp. Same thing, and I get to the final day of cuts, and I unfortunately on the wrong side of that. And I would end up getting signed back with them, playing on the practice squad. But some part of that conversation, when Butch Davis said to me, and it was similar to what had happened in Green Bay. Butch Davis said to me, it's nothing that you did wrong. You played very well. But at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. And anyone who has followed me in social media has seen that I use that hashtag numbers game because as used by Butch Davis and as used in Green Bay, they only kept four receivers, I think, at the time. Normally you keep 5 or 6, but they had injuries in the linebacker room, so they had to shuffle. And so they said we can play week 1 with only 4 receivers because of one linebacker being on PUP. in the room where they're making these decisions, they're just figuring out numbers. How many linebackers do we need in order to play? How many can play special teams? How many? It's a numbers game. But for the athlete, for the person that has put all their life into this thing, all of their effort, all of their determination into this thing is way more than a numbers game. But is it? And I say, but is it? Because you think about the number of players that start off playing high school football. Roughly about 1 million. If you want it to be exact, the last count I have is 1,093,234 high school football players in the United States of America. Only about 6.5% of those high school players go on to play in college. Roughly about 71,000 or so. And then only about 1% of those go on to get drafted. If you did the numbers, there's about total, there's about 1,700 NFL players as of today, active rosters. 53 people on 32 teams. Roughly is about 1,700. I'm going through those numbers because even at the very beginning of this journey, you have to understand that it's a numbers game. I'm going through those numbers because the 53 people that were selected to be on the 32 rosters of the NFL means that there were a lot of people in that overall numbers game that are not in the NFL as of today. I'm going through those numbers because I am reminded during the final cut week that no matter about the 1 million or the 6.5 that play in college or the roughly 1,700 that get to play in the NFL, I'm reminded that it all boils down for me to one dream. I got to live my dream. But it also boils down to me, for me, that I was able to take advantage of the opportunity and build options. I was able to build options into my situation. Went back to Notre Dame for law school, and for me, I got the most out of the game. But that one dream that a lot of players, unfortunately, this week have to realize will not come to fruition, reminds all of us that you have to invest in more than just your sport. You have to invest in the mind. You have to invest in relationships. You got to invest in making sure that you're connected, access to opportunities. And with that quick, but not so quick, reminder of what finals, the final cut week looks like and how it feels and how it impacted my concept of job security and numbers game. With that, that's how we got to this topic. That's how we got to this title, the return on investment. I don't know if you guys saw any surprise cuts in NFL this week or who you thought should have made it. I know you got the show Hard Knocks. I don't know if any of y'all watching it. I think Hard Knocks, because of how they show the show, the transaction wire probably should be prefaced by spoiler alert for those who really watch Hard Knocks. But it's a week that a lot of dreams, unfortunately, have been dashed. It's a week that is a sad week for most people, but a very happy week for others. And so I know that at the end, the Cleveland Browns are going to win the Super Bowl based on the final cuts. But I don't know if you guys took anything else from final cuts. No, it's on. It's on. Mic check. It's on. Crazy week though, man, and you know, I share it every year just because I want people to know just the journey that a lot of these athletes have gone through. And Hard Knocks, I think, sensationalizes it. and people watch it and have a good time. I can't watch Hard Knocks because it takes me back to two moments, pivotal moments in my life when the Grim Reaper, that's what we call the person that is the one that says, hey, coach wants to see you and bring your playbook. That's the Grim Reaper who walks around the locker room. No one wants to make eye contact with that person. No one makes eye contact with the Grim Reaper. Literally, like, no, I'm not looking at that person. But there were a lot of sad meetings this week, man. So I can't watch Hard Knocks because it takes me back to some of those sad meetings that I had. But it's going to be interesting to see who's able to navigate this being cut this week and who ends up making a roster. But what an emotional roller coaster week for most of the guys that have dreamed for so long to play in the NFL. It's a bittersweet ending for a lot of them, but glad to see that some people who were up against the odds did make the team. I don't know if you guys took anything from it before we pivot and get into some more sports business entertainment.
You know, one thing that stuck out to me, which is just crazy, like the Bears picked up like 7 or 8 people on the waiver wire, right? And I think about how shitty it is to go through camp and, you know, you look at your competition, you fight through, you're like, all right, you know, they're going to keep like 3 or 4 receivers or whatever, 5 receivers. And I know I'm better than these last 2. I'm going to be good. And a dude who wasn't even in your camp just shows up and then cuts you and he's on the squad. Like, you didn't do what you need to do in your camp, at your team. And you still got me for all this work I've been doing.
Hey, I said that my brother told me I had to be on a plane within like 45 minutes to go to Cleveland. That was one of those cases. I was one of those pickups right after the final cut for Cleveland because they saw me play on a preseason game against them. And literally it was after an interception. I continued trying to run after the defensive back as he ran a pick six, 90 yards, and I never gave up on the play. And by looking at the film and seeing me being able to close the ground between myself and the very opposite end of the end zone,
there was no moment where you caught up to this dude. What's the guy?
Yeah, I got very close, but the persistence, and then for them, they said that they could tell by the way I ran. Oh, this kid is fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that to say somebody else's opportunity was gone because of my persistence on that play, and I was one of those pickups right after cut that you come in and they literally are watching to see it. And if you're not who that tape purported you to be, you'll get cut immediately too. I saw a dude I saw a guy in camp literally for 30 minutes. They brought him in to return punts. He dropped one punt and I saw the GM do this, and all the veterans think it's funny. It's like, but to a guy who's just trying to make it, man, you never find humor in it. Like, dude, there's nothing funny.
For those of you who haven't played sports, like in general, like athletes are dickheads. Like the things that you think are, I mean, if you think about it, the things that we laugh at each other about, like that's somebody's whole livelihood, and you kikiing over there in the corner because he dropped.
You're having a good old time on my expense.
But I think it's one of those, like, you know, when you're slap happy, you just start being funny. And I think it's so stressful and it's so emotional that you just find humor in just about everything. The stuff, you know, when you get cussed out by coaches, you'd be just laughing. You're like, man, this dude just hurt my feelings. Y'all think it's funny.
But the reality of it is even as you watch the Bears make their pickups, they acquire people that have been cut from other teams. It's a numbers game. That's where the hashtag comes from. It's literally like, how do we maximize these 53 slots and optimize, you know, this position, that position. They have no concern whatsoever in your dream. They don't care just how painful it is at night knowing that, damn, I was this close. All they care about is their numbers. And so that's why we started the show off there and we'll pivot. It's incumbent upon us, parents, now that I'm in youth football and helping other young people navigate being a student athlete. It's incumbent upon us, coaches, have a responsibility to make sure we communicate. It's incumbent upon us, athletes. You know, young athletes want to act grown, so they don't want to act grown. It's incumbent upon everyone, the stakeholders, to let these people know you gotta invest in more than just your sport, because when you do, there's a return on your investment. One athlete that did that this week is one of the best that ever did it. Well, the best that ever did it in terms of shooting the 3-point shot. Steph Curry decided to get some return on additional investment, went back to school, and is graduating from Davidson. Yes, he also he got a number retired, inducted to their Hall of Fame there at Davidson. But Steph Curry, who I promise you does not need a degree in order to make money for the rest of his life, he felt it was important enough to go invest in education and got his degree. Shout out to Steph Curry, man.
You think they charged him?
Say again?
You think he had to pay tuition?
They paid him probably.
I was gonna say that was a marketing campaign for Davidson University, because even after he finishes playing basketball, he's gonna go play golf. So he doesn't need that degree.
He does not need to have a degree, but indeed, man, just for his own sense of accomplishment, just for the ability. There are different ways to describe someone. You either describe someone as they went to Davidson, or they're a Davidson graduate. He wanted to be in the second camp. The latter half of the description makes more sense. So shout out to him, man. But it shows
a really good school, actually. I didn't know that.
Davidson's a great school.
Yeah.
Great school. Great little large school. Yeah, it's one of those schools that's always on best bang for your buck. Absolutely. Davidson's a great school. But I hope that the young people that spend most of their days watching Steph Curry's, the release on his shot, watching some of his combinations and his highlights, I hope those same young people really, really take ownership of the example that he has set and follow him in that regard as well. Because just like you can follow, his tips on how to become a better jump shooter, follow his example of how to improve your life. Return on investment, make sure you get your education. So I don't know if you guys had anything to add to it, but I thought that was cool that Steph Curry, a guy who does not need a degree whatsoever in the general traditional context of how we think a degree opens up opportunities for you to create a career, he don't need that. But he felt it still important enough to go get his degree. Anybody want to add to it before we pivot?
I'd be interested to know how important it was for him personally. I definitely think that it's a good example, right? To show that you can even be a successful athlete. You can leave school early, you can finish your commitment, because there's a lot of people, you went down the numbers to start the show. You got to have other options. Obviously, a college degree will open up some doors to you that you might not otherwise get access to. So it's good just to have it as an example, whether or not it was a good investment of his time and in terms of what he wants to accomplish,
right?
Arguably not,
right.
But for the greater good, sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially at a time where people are questioning with this whole loan forgiveness debate politically. More broadly, people are questioning the value proposition of amassing so much college debt. Is the degree worth it? It just seems in that time frame for him to go get his degree. Shout out to him though, man. Shout out to him. Anyone, Big Flow show before we.
I just think you look at it. I think what happens with a lot of these guys. Jerome just went back and did it. Jerome's got a high
Jerome
school.
Bettis for y'all. You gonna be like that? He's one of them dudes. Like there's only one Jerome. Jerome Bettis happens to be his friend.
I actually hate people that do that. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Jerome.
The world. Can't stand first namers. Jerome Bettis. He went back and graduated, and I think I didn't talk to him about this, so I'm just speculating. But his son is in high school. You start to get towards that, like, all right, man, I'm preaching college to these kids, and I didn't do it. So let me go do it. So I think when these dudes start to have kids start to grow older and they're talking to them, they just can't be hypocrites, and they want to go set an example.
Very fair. For those of you who just joined us, man, it's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with Sports Business Entertainment Collide. Today's episode is entitled "The Return on Investment," and I've seen we got the celebrity guests in the building or celebrity viewers in the building. My man Chad Bennett, who is good dude, man, good dude. He has a biker club, like bicycling. They cyclists. I think they cycling club. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a cyclist.
I got a Peloton. Does that count?
Peloton. Yeah, you a cyclist. But he started a cyclist club called Black Watts, and they do a good job doing just making sure they advocate for men's health among Black men, all brothers in them. The thing I can't get with is the outfit with the cycling. I ain't doing that, bro. You know what I mean? So but once I get over it, I'm joining, man. I'm coming to Black Watts. And then my man Keith Wilkerson, both of these celebrity audience members are poking the bear a little bit. Once Chad says go Knicks, my man Keith Wilkerson, who is arguably the best ever. Watch this statement now. The best ever when it comes to running backs in South Florida. That's a statement right there. And I ain't the only one that makes it. Went to Ohio State and at one point was starting before Eddie George. Unfortunately, things didn't work out there, but it has worked out with him being not only a supporter of our show, but also up this morning poking the bear saying, go Buckeyes. We're going to get there. We're going to talk about this Notre Dame. I got on mine too, Notre Dame. I found the one Notre Dame shirt with red in it. Just to let them know we're going to conquer all the Red Sea that is in the horseshoe. We're going to get to that Notre Dame Ohio State game. We're definitely going to talk about that. Before we do, let's get to another GOAT because we went from Steph Curry getting his degree to Serena Williams getting her flowers. Getting her flowers. There was a tribute that was all queued up for her, and I don't know if the tribute being queued up means they thought that she was going to win or lose, but Serena, in the most imaginable manner, it was literally that Hulk Hogan on that third one. You're not going to get the pin on Hulk Hogan on that, that third one. 1, 2. Serena did not allow her career to go down just yet. Serena, who's provided more highlights and moments in terms of an athlete than I won't say more than anyone, but she's got her track record is oof. Serena was able to do the unthinkable. She won not only the first, but now the second round. She beat the number 2 seed in an amazing environment. And we've got our special guest here to tell you about that environment. Our own resident U.S. Open expert, he who goes by the name of ETP. As the producer, you was in the building, man. Tell us about it, my brother.
All I have to say is, and I think I've said this on shows previously, the U.S. Open is arguably, for me, it's not arguable. It's my favorite live sporting event, period. But it's just a really cool experience all day. It's just a very casual, but it's a very New York situation, but you get some tennis. So there's obviously a prestige to it. You spend a lot of money when you're there. But was there on Monday for Serena's kind of entry into her last run. And
did you wish that like Ireland, the Wi-Fi went down and they gave you free beer and free everything?
They wouldn't do that in America.
They would just shut it down. It's like, we ain't serving nothing.
They shut down the whole tournament.
The cheapest beer there, I think, was $14. So there's no way they were giving that away.
That was for Bush Light.
Yeah. They would have definitely took your social security number, your bank account number. They'll come back for you when the system goes back.
We got easy pass. Hey, just hit the easy pass.
Water costs $6 when you're out there. So everything's expensive. But no, man, great, amazing atmosphere. I was Monday, Serena. I think there was a lot of energy because people were showing up there thinking that it could be her last match based on the way that she played the previous tournament a couple weeks ago when she lost. Mm-hmm. But she showed up. In the U.S. Open, it's kind of her house. Like she's been there. She's a 6-time winner. She's always competitive there. She loves playing there. The crowd loves her. I mean, that's the craziest thing is the opponents that she's been playing. I don't know another situation where you have every single person in the stands cheering against you. Like, I can't think, even if you go to a Yankees Red Sox game in either park, there's somebody there wearing the opponent's jersey. and heckling and making some. So this was the situation. 23,000 people, Arthur Ashe Stadium. Everybody's cheering for Serena. Everybody's cheering against the other player, cheering when there's double faults, cheering when anything goes wrong for the other opponent. So
I hadn't thought of it like that. That is kind of a tall task. Like the entire stadium is against me. I wonder if her own coach probably found himself.
It's a second round game.
Yeah.
And all the people showed up because they thought it was gonna be her last match ever.
Yeah.
That's kind of the crazy part.
It's become more and more of a spectacle. So Monday, they thought, this was they interviewed her as if it was the end of her career. They showed them a montage. They brought, there was a bunch of celebrities. Mike Tyson, Bill Clinton was getting some tips from Dr. Ruth. They were sitting next to each other. Who else was there?
Very loaded statement,
Hey, I'm just telling you what I saw, man. I'm the Ball Hog Sports Talk U.S. Open correspondent. I'm just giving you information.
I love it.
So no, man. But I mean, I could talk about the experience all day. I think the main thing that's really great about this is the way Serena's playing right now is she's basically proving and solidifying that she's walking away not because she can't play, but because she doesn't want to play anymore. Like she can still, she's still doing damage, right? So hopefully she'll go farther. I know going into this, I was worried about her not being able to make it too far. Naomi Osaka got knocked out. She got waxed in the first round. Coco Gauff still going. Coco Gauff just hit the fastest serve in a long time, top 5 ever, 128 miles an hour, 18 years old.
Tied for the second fastest ever. I think tied with
Serena, for the 5th fastest, tied Serena's record, and she's only 18, so she'll probably break the record in the next year or two. And then yesterday, Serena and Venus came out for doubles. That was an exciting match, but they ended up losing. And the opponents, I don't know their names, but they acted like they just won the entire tournament
because they
beat Venus and Serena. When in reality, I think they kind of made a deal at the beginning, like, look, we're gonna save your energy for the singles. We didn't think you were gonna continue on.
Right.
We'll eat this one. Let's just use it as a little tune-up. But it was, again, you have an entire stadium, 23,000 people, literally. Not one fan. Like, I don't even think their family members were cheering for them at this point.
In this episode of Return on Investment, and I know we talked about King Richard, the movie itself, but during the week you shared ETP. You shared a video clip of Arthur Ashe, and I think it was you, ETP, that shared it, but talking about how in environments where he dominates, places like the New York Athletic Club, places that espouse to be principled such to represent our country, places like that, he's not allowed to be a member. We talk about all the sacrifices that King Richard Williams made and the family itself and more broadly, but to see Serena have such a run, 40-year-old still, while not being the absolute best, still being one of the best at this point. She's in the 3rd round of the U.S. Open. She beat the number 2 in the world, or is it 2 in the turn? I don't know what the 2. She beat the number 2 seed.
Number 2 seed, yeah.
And beating the number 2 seed at this point in her career, we're still seeing the return on those investments, return on the sacrifices. And so, I posted something about, I talked about Serena, and last week we said something about Serena, and someone saying, Althea Gibson, and they were talking about other people that have made sacrifices, but Serena, I think, she's the return on the investment. And so I'm glad to see that we are giving her flowers. I hope she can, figure out how to, strike lightning in the bottle for this U.S. Open run, and we'll see how much further it goes. Anything else before we move on, man? Shout out to Serena and her U.S. Open run. We got to get to this. I see somebody else. What's up, good bro? My good fraternity brother, my boy Darren Burton's talking about one of our junior Jaguars playing for Ohio State. We got to give the people what they want. They want to hear about this Notre Dame Ohio State game where Ohio State Ohio State is a 17-point favorite. So we're going to talk about it here in a second. But anything about Serena before we get out of it?
I just think she deserves it. I hope she makes it the win. She deserves to go out on top and have her moment like that. Even though I can't say it.
No, you should. Even though what? Now you have to.
You
say
have
it.
to
the
say
fact
it
that
now.
You're thinking it. It means you have to say it. It's rough, rugged, and raw. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk. You're thinking it. You got to say it.
Only because you said rough, rugged, and raw. But was it just me, or did Serena look like a church elder out there the way she was dressed? Did she look like the lady that shortchanged you on the mac and cheese in the line?
She came out with a gold cape.
I don't want to get
birthday.
Hey, I don't want to get canceled. I love my queen. She looked when I
now
tuned
she's
in.
your queen. She's your queen elder
She's
in
my
the church.
queen now. When I tuned in, she looked like a church elder. I was like, "There's no way she's gonna win this." She looked it's just not going to work. So I cut it off because I was bad.
Oh man,
Serena, I love you. I'm sorry I had to say.
Yeah, I love you, but I called you a church elder.
But you look like a church elder. I hope you put one of
your
your fashion sense is way better than mine, right? So I just hope it, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I just don't get it. Your drip was missed on me.
Oh man, you were ridiculous, man. You were ridiculous. My man Donald Jones in the building. We got all these celebrities, man. Donald Jones, what's up, my guy? On our coaching staff, but also at one point played receiver for the Buffalo Bills. His son is a big, who also wears number 19 for our team, Big Flo. His son wears number 19 because Donald Jones wore number 19 for Buffalo, but his son's a big Ohio State fan. So we got all these people prodding us about this game. It's coming.
Darren Bird, this is disrespectful. Simon's brother plays for Notre Dame.
He transferred.
Oh, did he?
He transferred to Pitt. Yeah, we lost him too. I know. He went to the son.
You know,
the older Simon.
Fun fact, I grew up with their mom.
You said that to me, because they got New Jersey roots. I thought you was lying.
I was from Evanston, Illinois. Amy Ellis grew up with her, and somehow she ended up in Jersey messing with y'all. So she giving y'all our people. That's the talent came from Evanston.
Her talent really came from Evansville. So you're playing
Evanston. Don't disrespect me.
Evanston. I'm sorry, Evanston. My bad, Evanston.
Well, call me +1. You gonna do that?
All right, y'all. Let's get moving. We're gonna talk about quickly because we got to get into this Notre Dame Ohio State game. So quickly, let's talk about since we went from Serena, who is doing her thing, really doing her thing. Let's get into ShaCarri Richardson since it's a quick stab at this. ShaCarri Richardson was able to beat Elaine Thompson, the Jamaican, who has been one of the 3 Jamaicans who ShaCarri has not been able to beat. She was able to beat her. So on this episode, return on investment, I think ShaCarri started investing in herself, started investing in her own mental health, started investing in her training, and it seems to be paying off. And maybe she did invest in some cannabis. I don't know, but she running fast again. Shout out to ShaCarri Richardson. I don't know if you guys wanted to chime in. We're sprinting through it now, so pun intended. So anybody wanted to chime in with ShaCarri Richardson, go ahead. If not, we'll move forward.
It's just good that she's still competing, right? Like she definitely hit a rough patch after everything, missing the Olympics, and she became a spectacle. It was very possible she was just gonna go off the wrong path and get out of the sport.
She was almost sideshow Bob.
And just basically be a meme and the butt of a joke. And, she was feeding into that for a little bit, but she's clearly training. It was an interesting race because it was raining. I mean, they ran a pretty slow race, but, at the end of the day, the fact that you can get up against the Olympic gold medal winner, from the last Olympics and win a race. I'm glad to see her because she was hyped it going into the Olympics. She missed that opportunity. The next Olympics are right around the corner, 2024. So hopefully she'll be right there.
Let's go, ShaCarri. Anything to add to a Big Flow show before we move on?
This is America. Winning cures all woes. So no matter what she did, whatever, as long as she didn't hurt any animals, you know what I mean? They forgive you if you win. So win. Just keep winning and you're straight. Just don't hurt no animals.
And it's got to be select animals, first of all, because you allow that. What's the little fly that's attacking the trees? You're supposed to kill that. Now we
It's
got
it's not an animal.
What? That's an animal.
A fly.
That's what is it if it's not an animal?
You can't name it. It ain't an animal.
It's the dragonfly. They're telling us to kill it because it's killing the trees, man. Whatever it's called,
the spotted lantern fly.
Spotted lantern. There you go. So the rules.
It's a fly. That's not an animal. It's a bug.
What? I don't know. Okay, man. I don't.
You know anybody got a pet fly? I'll wait.
So it has to be a pet. That's what I'm saying. You can't hurt pets. There you go.
Yeah, you can't hurt pets.
You gotta have a good personality.
You gotta have a good personality. And if you sense some sarcasm in what we're saying, you should. Let's get to the story that I want to get to before we hop into Notre Dame and Ohio State is LeBron, because their connection, ShaCarri Richardson is one of the spokespeople for Beats by Dre, and so is LeBron. And in this episode of Return on Investment, I don't know if there's been in our lifetime in terms of business. I won't say that because I mean what Jordan has done with the brand Jordan, the shoe, is crazy. But having a diverse portfolio, you talk about return on investment. LeBron keeps on expanding, and now he's got another interest in a soccer team. LeBron keeps expanding his portfolio, man. The rich keep getting richer. And while I am a pronounced LeBron hater, especially since he left the Miami Heat, there's only 4 years out of his career that I like to highlight, those while he was in Miami, while I like to clown him on his hairline and clown him on trying to put together dream teams every year. While I am one of those people, I'm also someone that has to acknowledge fully and embrace that this man, from a business standpoint, is a straight up mogul. Shout out to him in terms of return on investment. ETP, this brother keeps on expanding his portfolio, man, and it's happening right before our eyes. I know that we like to celebrate Magic Johnson and what he was able to do from a business standpoint, but LeBron James, I think, might be getting to the point where, I mean, I don't want to compare their overall net worth, but he is acting magic-ish when it comes to his business prowess. Shout out to him, man, despite all my hate.
Yeah, man, it definitely is literally changing the game in terms of athletes becoming investors and business executives in the landscape. And even, the thing that's interesting about this deal that kind of challenges even to the level of what Magic's doing, LeBron is diversified to the point where he owns a piece of the Boston Red Sox and then goes and partners with the New York Yankees to buy a soccer team. So he has relationships with the Yankees, ownership with the Red Sox, Dallas Cowboys, Liverpool, AC Milan. He's touching as much as he can, where, Magic, very LA focused, Dodgers, obviously had the connection with the Lakers. But just the idea that he's just putting his presence and taking owners, investing objectively, right, and just creating these relationships where he's got a hand in pretty much the entire sports landscape, or he will very soon.
Absolutely. The only return on investment that has not happened is because I think he tried to invest some resources into his hairline. I had to. If I didn't do it, then what I mean. My man Crit asked for. I had to. Sorry. What else you got, man? In terms of LeBron, I know you are a LeBron guy. I know that.
I mean, kind of, sort of.
No, you're a LeBron guy.
Kind of, sort of. I sent you guys that video. I sent you that video today showing LeBron. I don't know.
Yeah, no, don't say that. See that? See, when we get on camera and all of a sudden you sent me the video. No, you sent us a video and saying it's hard to argue anybody was better than that. That's the first. I woke up to that. You're in the Central Time Zone. I wake up to a LeBron video which you said it's hard to argue anybody was better than that.
He's not listening to me. Did you watch the video?
I watched the video.
If you enjoyed anyone's highlight tape better than that, like, but he didn't do this. Nothing.
It's a highlight tape.
I know everybody has highlight tape. I'm gonna post this. In the
So you think that's okay to the first words that I read this morning was it's hard to.
Did you want me to say morning, gentlemen? Is that what you want, or did you just?
I preferred that. That'd have been nicer than just putting LeBron in my face that early.
I'm gonna try to put this in the comments so y'all can see this LeBron thing. But anyway, from a business standpoint, though, I mean, I like him because he's going to the people. like, a lot of people just invest well. They get somebody manage their money, but he's at that next level up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going where the owners are at. Those people never lose, right? The owners, eventually, these soccer teams and all this stuff are going to get sold for like record money, and he's going to keep eating. I just build the machine, keep eating. He's giving back, right? He's doing a lot of things for the community, but he's getting to the top of the food chain, and I appreciate that. Pulling his sons up, doing whatever he's got to go do. I'm a LeBron fan. So,
and my man Patrick Rose says so is his wife, and she's made millions herself. I'd be remiss if we didn't say that, right? Because the old saying, I'm sure it's changed now in 2022, but it used to be behind every good man is a good woman. Now they probably said by his side or in front of him. I don't know. The PC police will probably kill me for making that statement. Why is she behind? But we would be remiss if we did not absolutely celebrate that. Look, it's gotta be challenging to be the spouse of someone that prominent. Every time
I don't know how hard that is.
I mean, from a financial standpoint,
man,
look, it's hard, but we would all take it. But to be, she didn't sign up for her life to be changed.
I mean, you're business partners of a pretty big business at that point, even though there's a lot of elements that they do independently, but to operate that entire reality, both the family and all of the business dealings and the fame and the celebrity and the foundation and all of these things, it's a partnership to the fullest extent, and it goes way beyond love, obviously.
I'm not touching
or love
that.
Of money.
I'm not touching that. He said it goes beyond love. I'm
saying it's not just like, oh, we're married to get, we're married and we love each other and everything's great. We have to actually operate this entire system that revolves around us, and it's not just let's go on vacation and have date night. There's a lot of business that takes place that you have to maintain, and
I'll give you that.
You got to dress up and go to events you don't want to go to and meet people you don't care to meet.
Stop it. We're going too far.
You don't think that's much of a sacrifice? I hear you, Big Flow Show. I get it.
That's my wife. I mean, if she'll leave my ass in a minute for that type of stress. You know what I'm saying? For that kind of stress.
It's not for everybody, man. It's not for everybody.
It's for most of us.
It's like, I don't know if it's for me, but I'd like to try it out.
It's for most people.
Can I get a test drive?
With the difficulties and shit, crying me a river, all that type of shit. Okay, I love it.
All right, hey, look, man. If you haven't been told, you are in the Ball Hog Sports Talk experience. This is the crew where sports, business, entertainment collide. I'd be remiss if at this moment, because we about to hop in, because LeBron is a topic of his own. We about to hop into some other stuff, but before we do, let me just say, please please comment, please share, please tag a friend, please tag a foe, tag anybody that you know. And please subscribe to both our YouTube channel and to our podcast. I paused for a split second to say that. It doesn't cost you anything. On this episode of Return on Investment, if you like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a phone, and subscribe, the return on investment for us would be huge. So we ask you that. It doesn't cost you anything but about 3 seconds. So please do that. LeBron has a few things that I hate on, but the thing I hate on most is LeBron is an Ohio State fan. Ohio born and raised. He is a pronounced Ohio State fan. LeBron will probably be there this Saturday in the Horseshoe when Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, come into town. And I've said this every single football season, and I'm going to warn you one last time, the most dangerous words in all of college football are, and here come the Irish.
You see how scared
he
got nervous?
He got nervous. He got shook a little bit. We showing Notre Dame shirt today. What I'm saying to you is, in Columbus, Ohio, you are now on notice. You have been officially warned. You sound the alarm, the tornado alarms. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you got to put the women and kids to bed. It is now time for you to hear the most dangerous words in all of college football because Columbus, I shall warn you here. And now, here come the Irish. Notre Dame is going to Columbus, Ohio to play in the Horseshoe as a not one, not two, not three. It would take too long to get there. A 17-point underdog. The number 2 team. We started off talking about numbers game. It's the number 2 team in the country versus the number 5 team in the country. And somehow, some way, the difference between number 2 and number 5, I know when you go on the road, that's about 6 points right there. But somehow they have deemed the number 2 team versus the number 5 team is a 17-point spread. As a Notre Dame man, if you can't tell, because I wear it on my sleeve, I wear it on my heart, wear it everywhere. I even got Notre Dame draws. Maybe too much information. But as a Notre Dame man, I tell you, let me look right into the mirror. Don't you dare. Don't you dare insult us like that. A 17-point underdog going in as the number 5 team. A 17-point underdog. Notre Dame is going to shock the college football world, and we are going to beat the spread. We're going to beat the spread. We ain't losing by 17 points. I don't know if we're going to win.
Y'all might win.
I think we're going to win. 17. We not losing by 17 points. We're not losing, period. And then let me just add another sentence. And if we do, it ain't going to be by more than 17 points. Notre Dame, I think, is going to go in. The Notre Dame team has rallied around Marcus Freeman. For those of you who don't know, Marcus Freeman played his college football at the Ohio State of Notre Dame. The Ohio State, how we have celebrated that they are that petty that from an intellectual property standpoint, they tried to protect the use of the word the. That school, the Ohio State University. The Ohio State University being a 17-point favorite to me is insulting. I don't think that their players, Notre Dame's players, are going to go out like that. They're going to go represent for their coach. They rallied around Coach Freeman. They're going to go in there into the Horseshoe, and they're going to win one for the Gipper. They're going to win one for Coach Freeman. Notre Dame comes out. They're going to prevail. They're going to shock the entire – I've changed my stance. To hell with the spread. Notre Dame is going to beat Ohio State. You heard it here first on the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Make sure that when they ask you, you let them know that I told you so.
Yeah. I think it's I want to agree with you. This spread is disrespectful. It should be no more than 16 points.
Yo, you always make me spit out my coffee, bro. That's how you
and I cannot. No, I'm poking the bear. I'm trolling you, but I guess the question that I have is they're ranked that high. They have this great, Notre Dame has the great recruiting class. Like, what's the rationale for the spread, right? Like, is it the coaching? Is it the defense? Like, what's the rationale? Like, they're both ranked in the top 10. This doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, Ohio State does have. Let's be fair. To Vegas, first of all, Vegas normally doesn't get it wrong, but sometimes they do. Ohio State does have the odds-on favorite, Heisman favorite, as their quarterback. They do have a receiver room that every year they pumping out NFL guys, and the youngest, best one is back. They have a lot, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like they're not a good team. But Notre Dame has a lot. And if we thought, here's what I'm saying. In this episode of Return on Investment, and we've talked about numbers game, it shows just how meaningless the preseason rankings are. Because if one team is ranked number 5, how can that same team be a 17-point underdog to the number 2 team? It just seems as though let's just do away with preseason rankings altogether. We should just say the red team is against the green team instead of number 2 versus number 5. Because they don't mean anything if it's a 17-point underdog. To me.
The only thing less or 2 things that I should say are completely insignificant is preseason rankings and week 1 spreads. Nebraska was a 13-point favorite. Northwestern lost by 3. How do you know what a team is going to do? You have never seen this team play ever. That's the beauty of college football is you're never going to see the same team twice, right? They're going to move out. You got different quarterbacks.
Well,
different
Vegas got drones and stuff though. Vegas will figure it out, Jack. Vegas.
I'm just saying. We had 11 games yesterday. We should look at the spreads and see how accurate they were.
Hey, you sound like you was from Florida. That was some South Florida roots right there. How many games we had yesterday?
11. 11 times. We had a lot of games last night. I'd love to check the spreads. I just think week 1 spreads are stupid. You know what I mean? Like they're not. What are you basing it on? You don't ever know how many times at the end of the season do you see people in the top 10 that were unranked before the season? How many times do you see people that just blow? I mean, it's all based off of super speculation. Now, week 2 and 3, yeah, I give the spreads there, but I'm just saying I don't think there's a Notre Dame can. I think their O-line is always monstrous. We got a good running game. I think this quarterback is going to surprise some people. Everyone's thinking that they're looking at the quarterback that just barely played a little bit last year.
Yeah.
And they're thinking that there's no way he got better. I'm going to give the Northwestern example again. A lot of people looked at the Northwestern quarterback, said he was trash. He had a fantastic game. But you got to look at the circumstances that these kids went through. They all were good in high school. They all had, reason to believe they're good. And then their circumstances made them not perform to the expectations. They get out there, they get a year, they get confidence, they get reps, and all of a sudden they are who you thought they were. Notre Dame is going to be kind of shaky at receiver as far as depth. They got the best tight end in the game. They got 3 solid running backs and a great line. So why shouldn't they score? Right?
I see my man Patrick Roach. Thanks for joining in. He says he asked, "What Irish player do you think will surprise the most tomorrow?" And he says his take is the running back Estime. And the reason I made sure we hung the that comment up is Estime is a New Jersey kid. I think he went to St. Joe up in Monmouth. I think that's the school he went to. New York kid. I think he's from Spring Valley area, not New Jersey, this area. So hopefully you're right, man. I would love to see him do well. And my man Chufu John Cheeky Black says Purdue covered, Tennessee covered, and West Virginia covered. Let me just say for 2 of those games, Purdue didn't cover. No. Actually, Purdue didn't cover. I'm sorry. West Virginia, on the other hand, did they really? I don't think they covered. That was a 6. They lost by 7. I don't know if West Virginia covered, but both of those teams figured out a way to lose the game. Purdue literally figured out a way to lose the game. West Virginia figured out a way to lose the game. Now the Tennessee thing was a whole different situation, but they figured out how to lose the game.
Tennessee covered by a lot.
Yeah,
who would take a 37-point? Who would take?
I'll take it any day, right?
What about 50?
Oh, you had him at 7.5. All right, my man Chufu Jordan. All right, you caught it early then. I think it was down to 6 by kickoff.
What game?
That West Virginia and Pittsburgh game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but West Virginia figured out how to lose the game too. You see early in the season. First of all, we got 4 more days of a 5-day run of college football. If you love college football, this is your favorite part of the year. This episode, Return on Investments, you see what the summer sacrifices yielded. You see which teams were able to come together. You see which teams or which programs that were the beneficiaries of some of these transfers, who's getting the return on their investment. So it's a fun weekend because we get to learn a lot about each one of these teams. We get to learn a lot about each one of these conferences. And I think that when Notre Dame, not if, but when Notre Dame shocks the world and beats Ohio State, the Big Ten is going to have some answering to do because I don't know just how good, of course, we love Northwestern, but Ohio State is supposed to be the creme de la creme of the Big Ten. If not, I love Michigan State. I think Michigan State is a sleeper this year. I don't know who else you're looking at. Let's take Notre Dame and Northwestern off the table. Who do we like when we think of college football for this year? It's tough to ever bet against Nick Saban. We're finally going to see in Brian Kelly, we're going to see a new LSU-led team when they go and play Florida State on, I think their game is on Sunday. We got games every single day throughout the Labor Day weekend. Anybody that you guys are looking for, we talked about Notre Dame, who the surprise players will be, and I'll give that. I will answer your question, Patrick Roach, in terms of who I think is going to shine for Notre Dame. But even more broadly, college football, What are we looking at? What's the landscape looking like as we go into this particular college football season? Who's going to get the biggest return on their investments, whether it be incoming transfers, whether it be new coaches, whether it just be just the sacrifices they made throughout the offseason? Who do we think is going to prevail when it comes to college football?
What teams you're saying? What's the new team?
Which teams? Which teams do you think that and I know it's hard to say early, but we got to say it because this is what we do. So is there anyone you think that might be a sleeper going in?
I don't know about sleeper, but I think my anticipation for USC is probably the top right now. I mean, they got so many new players over there, so much new talent, and then they have a new coach. I think they're going to sneak up. Obviously, they got an easy conference. I said it, and so they got an easy conference, and they're going to go in there. So
say it with your chest. Say it one more time. I bet you won't say it again.
They got an easy conference. I mean, they got one team they got to beat in the conference. I don't know. Utah's pretty good too. So I don't know. I think USC is going to be the big shocker of the season as they bounce back.
Yeah, we shall see, man. I just don't like the whole musical chairs when it comes to these conferences. So some programs, USC being one of them, that are engaged in this musical chairs, I'm rooting for them to do terrible this year. And I'm a hater. It's USC. So I admit I'm a hater as a Notre Dame man. But I do think that when you look at how they have now been much more successful in the recruiting space, USC is definitely on the cusp of something special. I don't know if it's Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart-like special when they had that run and they controlled all of recruiting. But we shall see. They had everything west of the Mississippi at one point. And every once in a while, they would get a top receiver from Tampa, Florida. USC had a run that was pretty impressive. I don't know if they're going to go on one of them runs, but they have done very well in the recruiting cycle. ETP, anybody, when you think of college football, the landscape, and please, our audience members, you know we love this. I see my man Patrick Roach says A&M. I saw somebody else talked about LSU earlier. Please do chime in. Who do you guys think we should be looking for? Is there a dark horse in the race in terms of college football that would exceed expectations by the end of the year? Project it now, because we are going to come back to this tape. Just like everybody's going to come back to this tape when Notre Dame beats Ohio State and say that crazy dude told us it was going to happen. Anybody else that you guys think is going to prevail this year in college football? ETP to you. What's the prognosis, man? What are you projecting? We got this big thing called college football, this big business. You know, this is sports entertainment, where sports business entertainment collide. Big business, college football. What should we be looking for?
I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with, all these coaching changes and people transferring and, just the conference shakeups. Like it'll just be interesting. I don't have any specific schools or teams that I think are gonna, shine more than others, but it'll just be interesting because I think this is kind of a test with all of these changes, so quickly. How is the landscape going to be affected by it? So I'm interested to just see how that all works out. I'd like to see Georgia show back up. I think they were always counted out. They weren't expected to really do what they did last year. So I'd like to see them continue with that level of success. And obviously, because they were able to take out Alabama. So that's the only one I'm looking for, to see if they can have some sustained success. But ultimately, I think just with all the shakeups that are happening, and then even with we were talking about it before the show, just with the potential expansion of the of the college football playoff and all of the just changes, even
the votes today,
or college football coming out of the NCAA, all of these things happening at the same time. It'll be interesting to see how it affects actually the sport itself
and the product on the field. Because when you think about, again, this is Ball Hawk Sports Talk, where sports business and entertainment collide. We have talked about NIL deals and its impact on college football, and they showed different, I ain't gonna call them out by name, they showed different players from different schools that were a part of NIL deals, big NIL deals. One guy's driving a G-Wagon on campus, another guy's driving a Lamborghini on campus. And hopefully they have also money managers, and they're not just going to spend all their monies at car dealerships. But does that change sort of the product on the field? Because now that I've made the money such that I can drive a G-Wagon, if you would have seen someone in college football driving a G-Wagon on campus back in the day, compliance would have had a heart attack. That in itself would have been, there's some guys that had money that were from money. But the two players that I just referred to, I don't think any one of them are notoriously from money, in terms of their family. A G-Wagon on campus? Come on. Big Flow Show, back in our day at the risk of sounding old, if you had driving a G-Wagon on campus, a Lamborghini on campus, you're going to be like, oh, this man trying to get the whole thing.
We're not gonna make it to the bye week, man. What's going on?
You dry snitching. You driving that around here, man. You trying to get us all caught up. So I'm interested to see whether or not it translates into people playing it a little safer. As a football player, as a quarterback, a mobile quarterback, am I making more business decisions during the game? Does the play fall off because the money has already been exchanged? Is there going to be more return on investments as if I'm the quarterback in the same conference and I know old buddy over there, we used to look at film and be like, yo, man, dude making that throw, he's making some great decisions, and we would compare film. Now these guys might be looking left, looking right, looking within the conference saying, yo, old boy driving a G-Wagon. I got to go out and make some plays to make sure I get that kind of bread. It's just a whole different landscape. And like you said, we're going to see whether or not there's been return on investments in terms of transfers. But this college season feels as though there's much more business in the the already established big business setting of college football. And this year, with the movements with coaches, and this year with some of the extensions on these coaches' contracts, and this year with the players being the recipients of big, large, meaningful, substantially sizable NIL deals, it feels like somehow, some way, big business got even bigger. And so I'm looking forward to it. Go ahead, Big Flo.
It did. Looking to expand the playoffs. I think we got to look and see, there's so much going on between expansion of the playoffs, the big TV contracts, everything coming together, conference realignment. It's all coming. It's all together. I got to throw this question out, though. The NIL, I think, was kind of a smoke screen that they put out there to defer or to kind of distract us. But the question is going to be hard and fast now. Everyone's been crying broke. Everyone's been saying, what about the female sports and the non-revenue generating sports? What about these? What about those? The Big Ten is about to get $100 million a year per school. They were getting $56 or $57 million a year per school before. There's no new expenses that come with that $43 million, right? It's not like they got to go do blah, 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 blah. They just got to keep playing, do whatever. At some point, that $43 million, somebody got to explain why, because the coaches are going to start getting paid more money. You better believe that, right? They're not stupid. They got agents. They're going to say, hey, look, you guys got all this bread. There's no way in the world my man's coaching for $2 million. You got $100 million a year coming in. At some point, they're going to have to start changing that landscape, and the G-Wagons are going to be doled out by the schools. Something's going to have to happen. There's just too much money going around, and you can only cry broke for so long, right?
Right.
This whole thing with the playoffs today, I kind of scratched my head because it kind of seemed like it was not very anticipated. I just read a little thing that went by, a little story.
And for those who don't know, what he's saying is the College Football Playoff Committee is voting today on whether or not to expand the existing landscape of number of teams in the college football playoffs.
And they've heard from 12, 6, or maybe even 16-team playoff. But I don't think this was a planned meeting. They've been doing a lot of stuff. They just did a vote earlier this, I want to say this week, maybe last week. They talked about the transfer rules, and now they're having transfer windows of when you can transfer and be eligible that year. So previously for football, you had to be in the portal by May 1st to be able to play that next year. So now they're putting a window for fall sports, winter sports, and spring sports. They're cleaning it up, and they're moving faster than the NCAA has moved in the past. If that's one thing you haven't noticed, is there's a lot of voting, a lot of meeting, a lot of stuff going on. And I think this thing is getting out of control from a standpoint of the NCAA can no longer keep control, and now they're figuring out they have to adapt. The Big Ten commissioner came out and said, they asked him point blank, do you see a day when the schools are paying the athletes? And he said, yes, I do. And that was a very clear, he didn't run around the question. He didn't give you a big, long answer. He just answered, yeah, I can see that happen. I think it's inevitable and it's there. And I just hope my son is still in school when all this stuff gets exit. That's all I'm saying. I just, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we like G-Wagons over here too. I don't really like G-Wagons.
Yeah, we started off talking about how we got here was basically this Notre Dame Ohio State game. Before we get out of it, predictions. I say I'm going Notre Dame 31, Ohio State. Who gives a damn? Not Ohio State 30. I think it's going to be a great game. 31-30. It's going to be one for the ages at the horseshoe, as they refer to it. I think 31-30, they're going to score points. Notre Dame is at the point now by way of recruiting and increasing overall team speed, where a few years ago they couldn't compete in these air quote track meet games. Notre Dame can compete in a track meet game. I'm going to say it's going to be a track meet game early. You're going to see a lot of mistakes are going to lead to turnovers, and turnovers are going to lead to points. I'm going 31-30 Notre Dame in what will be an epic upset. Notre Dame prevails in Columbus. What you got for me, Big Flow Show? Give us a prediction before we get out of here. Oh, and then to answer, I'll throw it to you. My bad. But to answer Patrick Roach, I think he's not a surprise player, but I think that the tight end, who is up for every tight end award, is considered the best tight end in college football going into his junior year, Michael Mayer. I think he's going to be used in ways that are unique, and it's going to be such that he's probably going to be taking handoffs. He's going to catch a lot of screens. I think utilizing him as the best as the best tight end, but more as a wide receiver is going to be the difference for Notre Dame this year. If he has a healthy year, Notre Dame has a very productive offense. I'll throw it over to you, Big Flow Show. What do you got? What's your prediction? Notre Dame at Ohio State at the Horseshoe Saturday night under the lights, 7:30 p.m. Big money, billions and billions of dollars associated with this, well, multi-millions at least. Who you got?
At the center of my brain and my heart is my mouth, right? So I got to be careful about what comes out of it. And I got to make sure I don't sound too crazy, right? Which one's in control? I don't know. I do feel in my heart there's no chance that Ohio State covers. But I'm fall short of predicting the upset just yet. I need to see them warm up or something. I need to see the look in their eye. I got to smell the grass or something. So my mouth is in the middle of my brain and my heart, so I'm just going to say, I'm just going to stop it and not predict the score. I'm going to just say they're not going to cover this.
They're not going to cover. I'll take that. ETP, since you got on here talking about it should at a minimum be 16, you know what I mean? You was throwing gas on the fire. What you got, man? Notre Dame going to Ohio State. And look, I know we your boys, and you know, we share that whole meaningful bond of the Ball Hog Sports Talk crew, but we can take a little bit of painful news. If you want to give us this cough medicine, go ahead. If you think Ohio State wins, covers, go ahead and say it, man. Say it with your chest, though.
You know what? So I'm gonna take a totally different side of this, because one, it makes me feel really sad watching you all not even believe in your heart that your team's gonna win.
Oh,
like that really hurts my feelings. Like you don't really believe it. So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna say Notre Dame's gonna upset, and I think because there's no tendencies. Right, you got a new coach. You got a whole, who knows what the system is. I don't think Ohio State's ready. There's no clarity on what to expect. So anything can happen. I think, I have faith in Freeman. I think he's definitely, regardless of anything outside of making really bad promo videos.
Freeman. That's a T-shirt. Somebody go and type him up. Go ahead.
Too late. We already made it.
I got faith. I want to, he's got a lot of pressure, but for him to get that position and be put in that position, I think he's going to come out swinging. And I don't know if Ohio State's going to be ready for it, but I'm just trying to give y'all something to feel better about, because you seem like your morale is low, and
I'll take it. I'll take it. You know what? You're right. We should.
That's my personal favor to you for the weekend.
I'll take it. We should have came out singing the fight song. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Big Flow Show. Go ahead.
No, I said we'll take that gift for the weekend.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that gift. We were supposed to come out, in our leprechaun little gear with hats, and all we got is a T-shirt on. You right, man. So we got to rally something for Notre Dame.
Big Flo wasn't even gonna wear his T-shirt until the last minute, before we started the
It was hanging up. I had to make sure it didn't get,
we ain't scared of you, Debo. Here we come. We coming to Columbus, man, to do our thing. Unfortunately, I won't be in town, and that is fortunate for y'all, Columbus fans, because I've proven I'm obnoxious when I get to an away game. But it is going to be big business. And you talk about the amount of hype around it, around the amount of money around it, and you compare that to, because we talk about return on investment. You compare that to a situation like Florida A&M, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU, where I was last week. Had nothing to do with this story, but just from a timeliness standpoint, FAMU has a shortage of resources, if you will, because you look at the football team. They talked about the 26 players that were ineligible to play against UNC at UNC. And FAMU played pretty well, very well, considering 26 players weren't available. Probably the best player in the FCS level, FAMU's linebacker, wasn't available. I don't think he's going to be available for other games. But the players have said, and the athletes there have said, that because of the reality that there's only one compliance officer there, it's a shortage of resources. And you compare this Notre Dame, Ohio State mega business to Florida A&M, and it shows that we still have issues. The opportunities, right, as Florida A&M gets ready to go down to Jackson State to play in the Classic, I think Orange Blossom Classic is what they're calling that. The opportunities are starting, you think, to change, and that'll be a nationally televised game. But the resources, there's still a drastic difference in resources. So, and then the band came out and they showed pictures of them getting some cold lunch on the side of the road on a rest stop after driving 13 hours to the game. And you start to just really notice the drastic difference, the dichotomy between those two similar but very different situations. Similar in that they are both college football, but different almost in every other aspect. What did you guys think about this before we move on, man? Florida A&M and its shortage of resources. I think it's unfortunate that the athletic department is taking so much heat for it, because it's a very simple way to describe a complex problem. But indeed, the athletic department is taking heat. This compliance officer is taking heat. How do you have 26 players that, because of bad advice, are ineligible to play? How do you have the best player in FCS as linebacker because of bad advice and what courses he should take over the summer, according to his attorney, over the summer, is ineligible to play? It just seems as though like certain things would never happen at Ohio State or Notre Dame. And we know that they are not exactly the same, but they should still be in the same stratosphere. What do you guys got before we pivot and go to them?
I think it's a cop-out to an extent. I mean, I definitely think shortness of resources is tough, but you got 26 people ineligible. I mean, I don't know.
That's a lot of kids. And they played UNC well. But 26 missing? 26
kids. So you say you got one compliance person to do the classes and all that stuff.
For all athletics, not even just football. One for every sport.
Well, at that point, that person needs to manage his resources. So this is your schedule. This is what you have to take. I don't know. I think it is tough when you go through that, but at some point you can't mess up that bad. That person's still bad at their job, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you know what I mean?
So like, you're gonna fire. So you firing.
You can't fire the only person.
You firing the Nebraska head coach. You firing the Wi-Fi person.
The worst part is they can't fire. They only got the one person. But I don't like to put that on. I mean, there's a lot of HBCUs out there that doesn't have that issue. So I don't. That's a cop-out. You know what I mean? Like, get more. You have more resources than that. You have more money than that. You just played at UNC. There's enough money. You probably got paid $1 million to play them. I don't know how much you got paid.
$450,000.
How much?
$450,000.
So get you another $50,000. Put $50,000 towards another compliance person. Y'all could have did that. I don't know. They deserve the athletic department needs heat and everything, but to cry broke when you fuck up this bad, I don't like that much. You know what I'm saying?
The compliance officer gets paid $450,000?
No, that's how much they got paid to play North Carolina.
Oh! I was about to say. I mean, let me help.
Problem solved. Yeah, problem solved. So I'm just saying, like there's a bunch of HBCUs with limited budgets that didn't have 26 people ineligible, right? They've had one compliance officer probably for the last 15, 20 years, and they haven't had 26 people ineligible. It's a major fuck up, and you're blaming it on something else. So yes, they probably are understaffed, but whatever. You know what I mean? There's probably a lot of other people who had the same situation that didn't have the same problem. So
fair. Hey, I'm just happy that you're not my HR director. You just firing everybody, bro. You hardcore.
That's the way. Is the worst part. You can't even fire this dude.
He's got job security. We talked about job insecurity in NFL. If you're the one person that's been doing this for every single sport on the campus,
imagine how many ineligible people you have for hoop if you can.
You are good. ETP, I'll give you final word on it before we pivot, man. FAMU, these resource shortages, and we did this literally seconds after talking about this Notre Dame Ohio State mega million lottery game, basically, that much money is going to be flowing into the city of Columbus. And it's just crazy, the difference, right? These are all student athletes, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids or young people that are exposed to this experience. It just seems a little crazy that it could happen in the same week that you got this huge game.
Yeah, I think one of the things you look at this and you say, okay, 26 players ineligible, but it doesn't happen like today. It's not like, all right, you're good, everybody's good, and then everybody took a test and 26 of y'all failed, and now you're not going to be able to play in the game. Like there was like the compliance process, the fact that it even got to this point before the 26 people were deemed ineligible is the problem, right? Like this is months and probably years long in terms of what their credits and all of that. So this is not just an isolated, they're ineligible for this one game. The question is what was happening up until this point in terms of how they were advised and what they missed. Like it's not just, I just fail to believe that there's 26 of these dumb jocks that were just brought in to play ball and can't go to class, like all the stereotypes that you make up. Yep. So it's basically a system that it's almost as if what I would be curious to find out was his job on the line and he wasn't doing anything up until this point, and then he started going back into the paperwork and was like, oh man, I missed that these guys were going to be ineligible 6 months ago and I did nothing, and now like I have to pull the trigger because I have to make it look like they are the ones that caused the problem versus me and any other support resources making sure that they stayed on track. But I was just out doing whatever I was doing, and blaming the fact that I'm overworked or understaffed or what have you. But clearly the ball was dropped long ago, and then right when they were about to start the season, everything came to a head. So it's unfortunate for the student athletes, for these kids, because I just can't imagine that 26, 1 quarter of the entire team just was deciding that they're not going to class or they're not going to comply with the requirements. It's too broad of a number. Like, and then that's the fact that somebody didn't look back and say, all right, before we suspend anybody, maybe we have to do a review and we don't deem them ineligible and we allow them to play, but let's do a review of this process because clearly there's something wrong with the system.
Yeah, you normally see more warning signs when it comes to compliance. That if that would be true if there was just one player, right, that was at risk of being ineligible. Now, if you then say that one player is the best player in FCS, captain of the team, but now you're talking about 26 examples. And I think 20 of the 26 are scheduled to be back for the game this week. I hope that there are a lot of eyeballs. I hope there are a lot of butts in the seat, eyeballs on the television. I hope there are butts in the seat. I hope that there's a lot of money being spent down in Miami this weekend when Florida A&M University, and with 20 of those players back, goes to play in the Orange Blossom Classic. If I'm messing it up, I apologize. But there's a classic between FAMU and Jackson State. Y'all know who the leader is at Jackson State. and some might argue it's a matchup between the marching 100 of Florida A&M and the sonic boom of Jackson State. You've got Dion and all that comes with Jackson State versus Florida A&M and all of its notorious graduates. It should be a great experience. The reason I want to bring up the game, though, is because just like Florida A&M has a resource shortage, Dion and his team in Jackson State are involved in a water shortage. And I hope they work it out. If you don't believe in global warming, I just everything seems a little bit off right now. I mean, from these lantern flies that we supposed to kill, that Big Flo thinks are pets.
You know, what's the name of your lantern fly?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I call mine Tony. I call him Tony.
It's a pet. It's up to you.
But it just seems off, and I hate to see that, you know, basic things like getting ice. You need ice when we're going through training camp, right? People are trying to preserve their body and maintain it. To water itself, if you're going to go out and say again,
water is for sissies. You know, back in the day,
water is for sissies. Who need a water break? You used to try to punk you because you needed a water break. But I really hope that they work it out, man. But I do love to see that Dion is using his platform and his voice to be outspoken when it comes to these water challenges. So hopefully they work that out. Before we get out of here, let's get to one more thing, man, because this Duke BYU volleyball, let's call it what? Let's call it. What are we gonna call it? Let's call it misunderstanding.
Let's call it debacle.
Debacle. So now, if you guys have not been following it, the Duke and BYU situation, there was a Duke volleyball player who said that she was called the N-word. They banned a particular person from ever coming to the game. The BYU athletic director came out and apologized. They then went back and studied the tape, I guess, and realized that they banned the wrong person. They also now are questioning whether or not the event ever happened. Whether or not the N-word was ever hurled at this volleyball player. For me, I don't know if I wasn't there. I wasn't sitting next to the person who was accused of saying the N-word. But why would a volleyball player just make this up?
To clarify the story, it was supposedly happened so many times that like the kid had to be like the player had to be like moved or something. So, and I'm literally at BYU.
He's just saying he's at BYU. His cousin plays in Cincinnati. So someone just commented, but he's at BYU right now. But go ahead. Okay,
so I wasn't sure. That sounded like it was breaking news that I needed to address. But I have a hard time because here's the thing about this: is if you're a player, right, you don't notice the crowd. Half the time I ask my kids, "Did you hear us screaming your name?" They say no, right? So you think about the mindset of an athlete when you're out there. You zone the crowd out. So for you to think you're going to make, unless you just had a horrible game or something like that, I don't know what the motivation would be for somebody to say that the person was repeatedly calling me this the whole game. Does her teammates corroborate it? You know, or the other people that said it? Right. That's the kind of thing that goes on. I don't know anything about anything. I don't want to make any generalizations. It just sounds like a weird story to make up with that many people that could tell you that that's not true. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if this is some.
It's not Jussie Smollett. It's not Juicy Smollett.
Jussie Smollett accusation and her just wanting. You know, Jussie Smollett to me was more of a mental health incident. He needed the attention. I don't know if there's anything in this young lady's past that would suggest that she just wanted the attention. I do think that because we avoid conversations about race, people are able to take it and use it as a spark plug when they want to conveniently, but at the same time, unless she does have some form of mental health issues, people don't just run around accusing others of using the N-word. in general.
They don't have an altercation with like
right.
somebody just a complete
There's no
stranger that
motive
witnessed
there.
everything. Yeah.
There's no motive there. And then to think that in the midst of a volleyball game, she would be thinking, I'm just going to accuse this particular crowd of BYU of using the N-word. And then let's just be honest, man. While BYU is a great campus, while BYU is a great education, BYU is not the school that has a ton of black people there. It's all Mormon. And, football players that come from California have talked about it forever in terms of the religious rules that have been put in place there and the lack of diversity. So it's made it a little more credible. You believe it a little more because it's at BYU. But interesting times, man. I think, but to reconcile that this week with now, Jon Gruden coming out and talking about his N-word emails and basically saying, look, I'm not a bad guy. I'm a good father. I'm a good this. I'm a good that. These emails don't make me a bad guy, but wanting another chance and people talking about whether or not he's going to get a chance. It's interesting to me, man, that the N-word has been reduced to almost a political volley conversation. We just gonna volley back and forth. And I know we've done a show about the power or lack of power of the N-word, but Jon Gruden getting another chance, we're not that far removed from discovering the emails. And it wasn't like it was one email and a slippage of some. There was a lot of stuff in there. But in this same week, I see that Urban Meyer, who I like Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was my receiving coach at Notre Dame, good guy, like good human. I like the whole family. But I didn't think after his fall from grace, when some of it was questionable about the young lady who was in the pictures, but then you did a little more digging, and now it's rumored that maybe his health issues at Florida were prompted by some other allegations with undergrads. And it's tough for me to say that there's not something there when it comes to racial differences that we're even discussing Jon Gruden getting another opportunity this quick. That when you watch college football this week, whatever they call that on Fox, the big noon show, whatever, Urban Meyer's going to be on that show.
Already been there.
He's coming back though after the issues, let's call them, or allegations.
I saw him yesterday, so it's not like it's like he's back.
Oh, you saw him yesterday? Oh,
yeah.
God.
So
it's already happened.
It's
tough for me not to point to the elephant in the room that there is a difference. There's a long racial lines that if I got a parking ticket in certain situations, it would take me forever to get another opportunity. Urban Meyer's back on TV covering college football. And
to be fair, though, I did see somebody talk about this. How the hell did Lovie Smith become a head coach again?
But you're not questioning it because of things that Lovie Smith did off the. You're saying that from a wins and loss perspective. I talked about Hugh Jackson. I said Hugh Jackson should have been fired. There's certain people I'm not going to defend just because you black. Hugh Jackson, Mr. January 31st. You go 1-31 and 2. You're supposed to be fired. You're not going to hear me. You know what I mean? Bump and go to the bat.
Yeah,
but that's Lovie Smith's issues were on the field, him winning and losing. So. But now Urban Meyer being discussed as a head coach potential candidate for openings, whether it be Nebraska or Arizona State. Urban Meyer being on national television again, like the dust hasn't even settled on those allegations, on that scandal. Jon Gruden doing this apology tour and now possibly being discussed as getting another head job opportunity after the hate and vitriol in those emails.
Well, also, let's be very clear about the Jon Gruden thing, and only just so that we can have facts. So the emails came out about the racist commentary, and then you had all these other black players or former coaches or other people, commentators, basically apologizing on his behalf. I know his heart. I know
other than Keyshawn.
He didn't use the
Keyshawn hates him.
N-word.
Yep. Other than
but
Keyshawn.
they were
Those
right.
lips.
We're talking about his, his lips and all the things that he said, basically racial undertones or racial slurs or whatever it was. But the language that was used was inflammatory, racially driven, ignorant. His job was not taken at that point. But then they dug out and they released more emails because whoever's leaking these emails was like, well, that didn't work. Now let's release something that's now homophobic. And at that point, that's when everything got shut down. But I just wanted to make sure that if we're talking about this, we have to replay the chronology.
Fair. Even there, it's just look, man, everything's not about race, but I ain't finna sit here and be played like Boo-Boo the Fool to be told and misled to think that nothing in the world is connected and related to race. And that's where I think the divide for me is. It's not all or nothing, right? You're right. Everything can't be about race. And people.
I'm not saying it's not about race. I just wanted to be clear about where the consequences were.
Yeah. No, I'm not. So when I say you're right, not you, ETP, but those in a camp that try to say everything can't be about race. You're playing the race card, yada yada. Everything can't be about race. But to say that there's no in between, there's no gray area, that there are no examples of things like this, Jon Gruden even being discussed as a head coaching candidate again is absolutely an example of the discrepancies of race in this country. Urban Meyer being on TV again, less than 6 months. I mean, the stench of that scandal is still in everyone's nostrils. And he is on television again in the prime spot of all college football for Fox. And then being discussed possibly as a head coach candidate on a college campus again with other young co-eds, again, as the scandal still has a stench you can smell from here to California, is just what it is. If that was a black man, while I love Urban Meyer and I support him, I hope he gets a job. I'm happy he's on TV because of the personal connection. I would be a damn fool not to admit that that's a different approach and reaction that he gets versus what a brother man would have got. That shit is what it is.
Did you know Coach Hayward? I think it was Coach Hayward.
Mike Hayward. Yeah, look at him. He's never got it. He was in line to be the head coach of Pittsburgh.
Hired. Not in line.
Hired.
They hired this man. He was a Notre Dame graduate. I got the pleasure of working with him in 2000. We did like an alumni game. He gets hired as the Pitt head coaching job. He's in South Bend with his girlfriend. They have an altercation about the child. He wants
his white girlfriend, his white child of his mother.
Of his mother, and he wants to take the kid and whatever. And there's some sort of a like, give me the kid and like push it away. She calls the police and says he pushed me, he hit me, whatever. Then he gets arrested, all that kind of stuff. She comes back and says, well, he really hit me. We just whatever. But he got fired from that Pitt job that day. He's never been in coaching again.
Not as a head coach. I think he's been an assistant coach. I think not even in this like a game day operations type thing. Such a drastic drop.
Never to be heard from again. Never to be heard from again.
And that was something personal.
Over charges that were dropped that didn't even happen. He didn't ever hit the woman. You know what I mean? She'll tell you he never hit her. Doesn't matter. This is America,
and so I get that's what I'm. Look, man. On this episode of Return on Investment, I have a challenge with I'm trying to get over it, but the return on investment of the sacrifices that we're talking about Florida A&M. And when I was on campus last week, I talked about sort of our entire community in Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. I think the whole South Florida is built in Black communities, built on the intellectual property that was established at Florida A&M. I just have such a tough time dealing with this discrepancy sometimes. And in these cases, it's a good example of just different Americas that we have in America. And it frustrates me because the return on the investment, the sacrifices that some of those same people made from the universities and campuses like Florida A&M, like Bethune-Cookman, Hampton, Howard, the people that were very prominent in South Florida, the return on the investment, I thought, was going to be equal opportunity, was going to be fair treatment, was going to be, discriminatory practices put aside. And yet you see in 2022, in both examples, Jon Gruden missed me with the whole apology tour, bro. Like you can be a good dad, a good human, a good this and that, and still be a racist. And while I'm happy for the Meyer family, Urban Meyer and his family, I get pissed because I know if you substitute Urban Meyer for almost any other black coach in that type of a scandal, which just happened, there's no way they're back on television. There's no way that they could potentially be the Arizona State or Nebraska head coach in the coming months being discussed as it, right? They're just thrown under the bus. So I'll leave it there, man. That's my challenge. It feels as though we're not getting the return on the investments that our, civil rights movement, that our parents and grandparents, our community leaders, the sacrifices they made, it doesn't feel like we're getting a return on those investments. So I'll leave it there. The Big Flow Show on this episode of Return on Investment. You want to leave us with anything? I know we got a few things that we got to get off our chest before we get out. I want to make sure that you start. Actually, I'll start with WNBA playoffs. Make sure y'all time in. We're down to 4. Both series are tied 1-1. And then I'll kick it to you, Big Flow.
Kind of a somber note here, very somber note, I should say. This week, the world lost a great man, Herb Gibson. He was a teammate, he was a brother, one of my best friends. Lost his battle that he's had with, call it heart disease and other factors. As a man of myself, that I love to self-deprecate and kind of make jokes about my weight. I guess I'll take this moment to realize, like a lot of us out here, can ignore our health, not make it a top priority, not try to make things right. Herb suffered for a few years in and out of a nursing home, trying to work out, kind of getting himself together, and it didn't work out, right? And there's a lot of guys my age, I'll be 50 next year, that played sports, people that didn't play sports, and, weight's picking up, numbers from the doctors aren't coming back the way they're supposed to, and we don't really take a chance for our families and everything to address those things and make them a priority, and we lose people too early. So I'll take this time to talk to those of us out there who could be doing a little bit better, eating a little bit better, exercising a little bit more, taking that pill that they tell you that's going to be in your best interest to do that, because I don't want to lose any more Herb Gibsons. I don't want to see any more kids out there losing fathers, and I don't want to see anybody losing friends and teammates like that. So call it a public service announcement, call it me preaching on my soapbox, but he's going to be dearly missed. I wish you guys had a chance to know him. He's a great dude, but this hit home, this hurt a lot, and I just hope that it doesn't happen to any more of us anytime soon.
Awesome tribute, man. And on behalf of Herb Gibson, did play offensive line at Notre Dame. On behalf of the Notre Dame family, all of us are hurting. He was a great man. So let's just do a very brief but meaningful moment of silence for Big Herb. Regardless of the program that you play with, when you play college football, you become brothers with men from all around the world, from different households, from different backgrounds, but you become brothers, man. So the Notre Dame family is hurting this week because we lost one of our brothers. I'll leave on this because the Big Flow Show and I will be tomorrow on the Game Day Show as we get ready to watch Notre Dame shock the world. WSBT Game Day with Tim Graw is going to welcome the Ball Hog Sports Talk. At least two of us will be the Notre Dame guys of the Ball Hog Sports Talk will be on the show tomorrow. We'll try to share the link. Y'all come support us. We're going to go in there and talk greasy. I got you right, ETP. I got to do some push-ups, get my weight up, and make sure I say it with my chest. We're going to talk greasy tomorrow and talk about how Notre Dame's going to upset the world. We also going to make sure we give a whole bunch of shout-outs to the Ball Hog Sports Talk. It's going to be a great time, so we'll share that link. This episode of Return on Investment, we started talking about the cut day of the NFL and how so many dreams have been shattered, other dreams have been realized, but look at the numbers. When you go down the numbers of 1 million plus people that play high school football, when it's all said and done, about 1% of those people will play in the NFL and make an active roster. So the return on the investment, parents, coaches, athletes, you got to invest in more than just your sport. We also talked about the greatest of all times, in my humble opinion, Serena. We talked about some other meaningful things, the racial discrepancies in sports, the empire that LeBron is building. It's all about, if you will, making sure we have a return. The sacrifices that people made, we got to make sure that they're honored because of those sacrifices. And so with that, we will leave this week and challenge you to be a part of the difference. Make sure that the return is meaningful because of the work that you have put in, because of the equity that you demand in your workplace and on your team, because of the fairness in which you show and how you treat people. That is how we get return on the investments of our ancestors and all the people before us. Have a great week. It's been the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, entertainment collide. The crew was here. We had the Big Flow Show from the Central Time Zone. We had ETP coming to you from the Eastern Time Zone. And I'm your boy. I get to host this show, co-host really the show. They let me talk a little bit more. B Brown ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Brazy. Another show, the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Thank you humbly for being a part of it. Please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast, because with that, we is out. Peace.